Today we're going to work on adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Once again, a mixed number includes a whole number and a fraction. So, right here, our first one here is 7 and 4/6 plus or adding 4 and 3/6. So we're going to start this by go ahead and adding it. So we're going to add our 4 and our 3, our numerators from our fractions. So 4 plus 3, and 4 plus 3 is 7. And our denominator, once again, always stays the same. So 7/6. Okay. And then we're going to add our whole numbers. So 7 plus 4, which is going to give us 11. So we get 11 and 7/6. However, we're not done yet. Our 7/6, 7 is greater than 6, which means we have a whole number there, and we need to carry that over to our 11. So we're going to carry that over by taking our 6. How many times does 6 goes into 7? 6 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 6 is 6 plus 1. So 1 and 1/6. So we now have to add that 1 and 1/6 to our 11. And we're going to get 11 plus 1 is 12. And then we have our 1/6. So our total answer is 12 and 1/6. On our next one here, we're going to add it much the same way. We're going to say our 5, our numerators are 4 and our 5. So we have 5 and 4/8 plus 3 and 5/8. And we're going to add up our numerators first. Our 4 and 5 gives us 9. And our denominator stays the same. So 9/8. And then I'm going to go ahead and simplify this first. I know that that equals 8 goes into 9 one time. So then I have our 9 plus, okay, so 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So 1 and 1/8 would be my answer there. And then I have to add my 3 and my 5. Now, I'm going to carry this 1 right here. I'm going to carry this 1 straight up onto here. So I'm going to add my 1 right there. And then I'm going to add these together. So I'm going to get a 3 plus 5 plus 1 is going to give me a total of 9. So I'm going to write my 9 down here. And I got to move my 1/8. My 1/8 from over here back over to here. And 1/8. So it gives me 9 and 1/8. On this next one here, we're going to add it. And we're going to say 3 plus 3 is 6. My denominator stays the same at fifths. And 6 plus 4 is 10. So that gives me my 10 and 6/5. But 6/5 is still more than 5. And since 5 goes into 6 one time, I'm going to add the 1 to the 11, which is going, or to the 10, which is going to give me 11. And 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, so it's going to be 11 and 1/5 would be my answer. On this next slide, we're going to subtract without renaming. We don't have to rename our fractions in order to subtract them. And so we're going to just subtract them out. 7 subtract, well, first of all, we have 3 and 7/12 and 2 and 5/12. We're going to subtract from each of these. So 7, our numerators, 7 subtract 5 is 2. And our denominator stays the same at 12ths. 3 subtract 2 is 1. So our answer is 1 and 2/12. On our next one here, we have 4 and 3/4 subtract 2 and 1/4. So we're going to take our numerators first. 3 subtract 1 is going to give us 2, and our denominator is going to stay the same at 4ths, and 4 subtract 2 is going to give us 2. So our answer is 2 and 2/4. However, we can simplify that to 2, and since 2 can be divided by 2 and 4 can be divided by 2, 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1, and 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So 2 and 1/2. Over here on our third problem here, we have our 3 and 5/6 subtract 1 and 2/6. 3 and 5/6 subtract 1 and 2/6. We're going to go here. We're going to take our numerators. 5 subtract 2 is going to give us 3. And our denominator stays the same at 6. And 3 subtract 1 is 2. So 2 and 3/6. Or we could break that down and we could reduce our 3/6 to 2. And since 3 can go into 6, or because 3 is half of 6, we know that it is actually 1/2 there all as well. And just for fun, I'm going to show you that this 1 and 2/12 can also be broken down, because 2, we can divide each of these by 2. So we could have a 1, and 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1, and 12 divided by 2 would be 6. So 1 and 1/6. Now we're going to subtract with renaming, meaning our fractions in the larger mixed number are smaller than the fraction that we're trying to subtract. Because of this, we have to rename our fraction. There's 2 ways we can do this. In the first one here, we're going to just rename it, and then I'll show you how to regroup it. So, on this first one here, we have to rename this as another fraction. So 1/3 is equal to, and we rename by multiplying and adding. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, gives us 4/3, and then we have our 2/3, and now we can subtract this. 4 subtract 2 is 2, and our denominator stays the same as 2/3. That would be our answer. On this second one over here, we have 4 and 7/10, and we have 1 and 9/10. 4 and 7/10, 4 can subtract 1 just fine, but 7/10 cannot subtract 9/10. So we have to rename it. So once again, we're going to rename it over, and we're going to go 10 times 4 plus 7. So 10 times 4 is 40, plus 7 is going to be 47 over our denominator, which stays the same as 10. And then we're going to take our 10 and we're going to multiply it by 1, which is going to give us 10, plus 9 is going to give us 19 over 10. And we're going to subtract that out. So 47 subtract 19. Now some people can do this in their head. I have a little difficulty doing that, so I'm going to actually write this down up here. 47 and 19, and I'm going to subtract it out. So 7 can't subtract 9, so I have to borrow. That's going to leave me 3 at the top. 17. 17 subtract 9 gives me 8. And 3 subtract 1 gives me 2. So 28. My answer will then be 28 tenths, which I then need to reduce. I'm going to actually reduce it back over onto this side here. 28 tenths, so 10 times, my denominator is going to stay as 10. 10 goes into 28 2 times. 2 times 10 is 20 plus 8 equals 28. So I get 2 and 8 tenths as my answer. On these next ones, we're going to subtract using regrouping. Regrouping is when we're essentially borrowing from the larger number so that we could subtract. And so, on this one here, we're going to, this first one, we have 2 wholes, subtract 1 and 1/4. So we're going to take our 2 here, and we're going to borrow 1 whole from 2, leaving that as a 1. So 1 whole from that would be, because our denominator here is 4, would be 4/4. So we're going to take 4/4 from that. Now we have our 4 subtract 1. 4 can subtract 1, and it's going to give us a 3. And then our denominator stays the same as a 4. And 1 subtract 1 is 0, so our answer will be 3/4. On this second one over here, we have 2 and 3/8, subtract 1 and 5/8. Now 3 can't subtract 5, so we're going to have to regroup or borrow a whole from this. And a whole, because we have 8 here, is going to be 8/8. So we're going to, I'm going to write this off to the side here. So we're going to borrow from that. That's going to become 1. So my total is going to be 1 and 8/8 plus 3/8. So I'm going to have my 8/8 plus 3/8. 8 plus 3 is 11/8. So we're going to have our 11/8 over here. And we're going to be subtracting 1 and 5/8. So now we can take our 11 and subtract our 5, which is going to give us 6/8. And our 1 subtract 1 will be 0, leaving us with only 6/8. So 6/8 would be our answer. 6/8 can then be actually reduced to 6 can come down. 6 can be divided by 2, which would then be 3, and 8 can be divided by 2, which would be 4ths. So 3/4, or 6/8 or 3/4 would be our answer. And that is how we subtract using regrouping. And